Hello and welcome to Future Consideration, SB Nation's weekly NFL draft show. That's Dan Rubenstein. He watches college football.
That's Matt Ufford. He's our NFL guy.
I sure am. Let's get into things this week with our weekly Mocking the Draft mock draft.
Yes, let's start at the top. I believe the same number 1 overall pick in Jadeveon Clowney to the Texans.
And same number 2 as well. So
same number 2, Greg Robinson.
And we have no complaints with either of these.
We love both of these teams, non-playoff teams, working the lines. I like that
Smart.
a lot. Or the front, as it were, with Jadeveon Clowney.
Yes.
Jacksonville with Khalil Mack moving up a slot here.
I like this. I think that you can make a solid argument that Khalil Mack is the best defensive player in the draft, not named Jadeveon Clowney.
Yes, absolutely. He can be a bedrock outside linebacker for Jacksonville for years, perhaps more than a decade to come, if he shows the type of skill that he showed at Buffalo. Sammy Watkins to Cleveland.
We've seen this a lot. You and I both think that that's, I don't mean to speak for you, of course,
By
but
all
like
means.
it's a great pick. He's a great player. We find it a little bit of a head scratcher at number 4 overall when you already have a brilliant young talent like Josh Gordon.
If Cleveland is just set on getting the best possible players, sure. I don't like it still. I think they need help otherwise before another top receiver. Blake Bortles, number 5 in Oakland. Thoughts?
I find it strange. I'm still holding on, even as more and more mock drafts drop Teddy Bridgewater down. I still think he's the best and most pro-ready quarterback in the draft, and the insistence that Bortles is going to be the first quarterback off the board by a lot of draft nicks. I find strange.
Bortles is very good. You're taking a quarterback in the top 5. You're sending a message. This guy's ready to play week 3, week 4. I'm not sure that's the case with Blake Bortles, but I really like him. And if Oakland does need a quarterback, which they do, I like it. Let's jump around at 10. A name we haven't seen this high: Odell Beckham Jr. The Lions.
This is a head scratcher for me. The Lions, of course, just signed Golden Tate in free agency. He's an excellent number 2 wide receiver behind your Megatron. To spend a top 10 pick on Odell Beckham
Another
Jr.
receiver.
I think Beckham's a good player. I don't really love him at 10th overall, and certainly not for the Lions' needs.
Right, especially on defense, where the Lions are looking to improve. You have Green Bay, you have Chicago's offense looking ridiculous. I think that's the move there, especially since they play indoors. The Giants at 12, Aaron Donald.
You and I both love Aaron Donald. He's going to be a game changer, a star in the NFL. The Giants do have bigger needs on the offensive line, and we also, when we talked about the Giants' needs before, when we talked about the NFC East, they need a tight end.
They do need a tight end, but I feel like an interior defensive lineman, and he can play everywhere on that line, really, depending on the package.
Despite the Giants' bigger needs on the offensive line, I don't have a problem with any team taking Aaron Donald.
No, absolutely not. You get a game-changing defensive tackle /
How about
whatever.
At 18, the Jets taking Kyle Fuller.
A really good corner. I don't think he's the best corner in this draft, but very, very good. Played well for a pretty good, if not excellent, Virginia Tech defense. The Jets, it is a position of need. The corner position has been shaky since the loss of course, Revis Island. It's one of the first mocks we've seen that does not have a receiver going to the Jets.
Yes, but I would say I like my first-round draft picks to be building up defense and the lines, and I think that
we feel good about the Jets' defensive line, so it's not a terrible pick. The next one, kind of interesting, especially with this mock.
Real head scratcher here. We've got the Browns trading to get Manziel at 19, which certainly is fine with me.
Great.
If you're under the impression that quarterbacks are falling. 20, the Arizona Cardinals taking Derek Carr, which I would not have a problem with.
Not a huge problem.
Except that Teddy Bridgewater is still on the board.
I think you definitely go Bridgewater there. Derek Carr, if you're taking quarterback around 20, you're probably not asking him to play right away. They do have a quarterback in Arizona for the time being. But wow, Carr ahead of Bridgewater?
That is comical.
Not sold on that at all.
That should cost someone in their job.
Yes. This presupposed hypothetical world. How dare you? The Saints grabbing Marquise Lee, somebody we've seen go to the Jets in a number of mocks. Marquise Lee, a very versatile player. The Saints, of course, treat receivers and pass catchers very well.
Great hands. He's a polished route runner.
Sure.
One of those. I would love to see them, especially where the tackles are going. There's a lot of talent at offensive tackle late in the first round.
Absolutely.
And I think that the Saints still haven't found someone to replace Bushrod since he left in free agency. I'd really rather than see them protect Drew Brees rather than give him another weapon.
I think there's enough value in this draft at receiver. And the tackle thing, Drew Brees is a top 3 quarterback in the league. That's a fact. arm him with the type of tackles that he demands and should always have.
Yeah, he's got the weapons, protect him.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
That is our review of this week's mock draft. Let us know what you think, of course. I'm sure everyone just agrees.
Yeah,
everyone
always.
just loves every pick. Let's move on now.
Let's
move on to the best tight ends in this year's NFL draft.
A position of increasing importance in the league with many more wide open offenses where you have sort of hybrid receiver tight end types, Jimmy Graham. So people are always searching for the next game changer there.
And the number 1 overall tight end is pretty obvious in this draft. North Carolina's Eric Ebron.
Yeah, I mean, he's everything you want, especially in that type of wide open offense. He changes fields. He's terrific in the seam, really good hands, amazing with the ball in his hands. Very good speed for that size. Ebron, because he is so good as a receiver, is the clear one.
Number 2, Austin Seferian-Jenkins. Didn't have a pro day because of a stress fracture in his foot, but tell me about him.
He's built like the Fox Sports robot. I forget that robot's name, but that's essentially how he's built. Great size and strength.
That would be Cletus.
Cletus, excuse me.
6'5", 262.
That's
he's
why
a big
you're
boy.
the NFL guy. Yeah. So Seferian-Jenkins, great in the slot, great third down, end zone sort of target. He's just ridiculous. Needs to be a little bit more functionally strong at his size, inline blocking, depending on what kind of system he goes to. That's the only real weakness.
If you buy into the basketball playing tight end, the Julius Thomas, Jimmy Graham,
Jenkins is it.
Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, that's he played basketball for UW. So if that's what you're looking for,
that's a great pick. And he was a little bit beat up and didn't go through a lot of the trials and tribulations that come along with pro days and the combine. But he's healed. It seems like he'll be fine. Next, Jason Morrow from Texas Tech. A really big wide receiver is what it seems like, which is fine, which is terrific. Very good hands. He's athletic. He's somebody you want, just not quite as polished as the couple guys ahead of him.
More of an offensive weapon than an additional blocker.
Yes, it makes more sense. He's not going to be in a ton of power schemes.
In a Cliff Kingsbury offense at Texas Tech,
right, which will inflate everything. Troy Nicholas, Notre Dame, is even bigger than Cletus.
6'6", 270.
That's a large boy.
Man to be running downfield.
That's true. Great size, obviously, was a huge weapon for Notre Dame on like 3rd and 8s, just getting open and boxing out or getting into the red zone or getting into the end zone, and is just fantastic on big play opportunities. Can improve a little bit in traffic, but he's as they say, a gamer.
A gamer. And at number 5, rounding out the top 5, CJ Fedorowicz from Iowa.
Another large man he's not the fastest in the world, but deceptive athleticism, really soft hands.
He's got that Big Ten size.
He's got that Big Ten size. Blue collar. But no, he is very good. It's a nice tight end class this year. It's not the best we've seen in recent years, but very, very good. You're getting a number of game changers.
Yeah. All right, Dan Rubenstein's top 5 tight ends. Watch for them on draft weekend.
Yes.
Now let's go to our final segment. I had a couple minutes to talk to former New York Jets GM Mike Tannenbaum. Electric personality. See for yourself. We've got former Jets GM Mike Tannenbaum talking about what goes into a GM's thought process leading up to the draft. Tell me, when does the focus shift from the team you've presently constructed to college players who are entering the draft?
It actually starts the May before in terms of our first initial meetings, and then the college scouting department kind of takes the lead on that, and you keep an eye on it during the season, try to get to games. But really, once you get to the All-Star games, the East-West Shrine game, the Senior Bowl, and then obviously heading into the Combine.
Are Combine results overrated?
They're part of the process, and when you make decisions about running a draft, you have as much information as possible. So you want to make that a factor in your decision, but you would never just draft someone based on the draft, on the Combine.
What constitutes an actual red flag for your team?
Well, again, we want to know if they love football, will they play hurt, we want to know about all their intangibles. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's one red flag, but pattern of behavior, how they handle authority, their relationship with their coaches, their parents. So all those will be factors in ultimately the decision we make.
Let's talk about draft day itself. You have 10 minutes in between picks in the first round, 7 in the second, 5 in rounds 3 through 7. I've always wondered, how do you pull off a trade with another team with all the various we're trading picks up to move various spaces, picks from different years? How does that happen in such a short time frame?
Yeah, it's a great question. You plan the best you can, and then you're going to react to what happens. And you always want your needs and the board to mesh the best they can, and sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. And if you don't have a strong conviction about a player, you hope the phone rings. Sometimes it's days beforehand as it relates to the first round.
Sure.
In Darrell Reeves' case, we actually had a trade with Carolina the night before, and as long as our player was there, we were going to make the trade.
Is it something that has to just be a verbal agreement, or are there lawyers over your shoulder giving the okay and putting something in writing?
No, you can't put anything in writing until you're on the clock. So situations like that, it's based on trust and respect of your peers, and In Carolina's case, it was somebody in Marty Herney that I made a lot of trades with. They were looking to move back. We were going to move up. Again, if Darrell was there was 2 other corners we liked in Aaron Ross and Leon Hall. And then when he was there, we moved up from 25 to 14 together.
What are some of the moves that you're most proud of in your tenure as Jets GM?
Well, obviously, picking Rex Ryan to be our head coach and being part of an organization that went to back-to-back championship games and knowing that we did with a lot of high-character people.
Thank you, Mike, giving us some insights into the draft process and draft day. Appreciate you being here.
Wow, I like that. Well done.
Just riveting, electric stuff.
I like it. It's an interesting process to me. Thanks again to Mike Tannenbaum. Of course, thank you to the guys at Mocking the Draft for another great mock. Let us know again in the comments your thoughts. We will see you next week, but before that, remember that we are going live on May 8th, Thursday night, first round of the NFL draft, before and after the draft.
Yeah, we're going to have all sorts of fun guests, our pals from SB Nation, as well as some football professionals.
Ooh, special.
Yeah.
So tune in. We'll see you next week.